Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Build a Civilization. This week we will be working on decision making and a power structure. So last week I've seen your submissions, people who have already submitted, and they're looking really great. You have good ideas for what kind of food you're going to eat, how you're going to capture and even sometimes store food for a longer period of time. Some great ideas for shelter and getting water, tools, and weapons. And you can always add to those ideas. You don't have to resubmit, just note them. And as we go through this, you might use some of those ideas in your reflections. So, a recap of last week, right? The situation is it's 5800 BCE. You and about 50 others have traveled to find a new home. You have found your home. You are allowed to travel within about a 100-mile radius of your starting point. Don't be concerned about whether you're precise in that. Just, find an area that you think is around 100 miles around your home. Your only access to supplies or tools are what you can create with your resources. If you have a partner or you are using text-based resources to learn about your area, most of these are online and you can share information. Okay. So, and keep in mind special adaptations for your area. If it's cold, you'll need to have lots of warm clothing and food. If it's warm, you'll need other things. So keep those in mind, as well as large predators. I hope nobody was eaten by a bear or a puma last week. Okay, basic survival it looks like most people that are submitting are meeting the requirements for basic survival, and I saw some upgrades. In the slides, you will see I kept these in for what group you're in. I'm going to go in quickly by them, but they're in the slides if you need to. These are resources if you need more information about your area. The first thing I'm going to have you do this week is do a reflection. It's in a discussion post on Schoology about what about your location helped you survive and build a home. So if you could share some of those ideas, it'd be great for everyone to see what each other is doing. What about your location made it a challenge to survive? Did you have limited food or limited, resources such as trees, or what is making it a little more of a challenge? And number 3, what in your location allowed you to upgrade beyond the basic survival, or what got in the way of that? So if you can respond, that would be great. This week, we are working on organizing ourselves a little bit more. How are you going to work together as a community? So the first step is, and you can do this in a graphic organizer that we have created. Here's the graphic organizer. That's a document that is loaded on Schoology that, again, you can take notes on it. You can print it, take notes on it, or you could just write it on a piece of paper, or you can do it digitally. It's all up to you. So here is your graphic organizer. The first part is this section, and it is a brainstorming list. Basically, what do you need for your society to run smoothly? So think about those daily tasks and decisions, right? Who needs to make sure you have enough water, enough food, fixing your shelter, looking to maintain a fire, right? Processing food, all those things you would need to take care of on a daily basis, right? So who's responsible for each of these? Are you going to have someone who's going to be kind of like your medic or your doctor? What protocols or customs for making decisions, right? Because maybe sometimes there's a lot of animals and you want more people hunting, and sometimes there's less and you want people gathering food or building technology, right? There's a lot to do. Is someone in charge of, some people in charge of farming or herding, looking to domesticate animals, build and maintain and improve shelters, taking care of the sick and wounded, and providing protection and exploring uncharted territory. So lots of tasks. Look at this as a great list and kind of think of which ones would apply for where you live. And you'll put that in your graphic organizer. The next step is to design your power structure. And we have some models in here for you to look at. So it's basically a blank space for you to, after you've looked at some models, come up with how are you going to make decisions? Is there someone in charge or a variety of people in charge in different areas? How is power and authority distributed across your society, right? How are you going to solve conflicts? So if you scroll down or look down your slides, right? This is where you're going to put it. How and who makes decisions. Here are some structures to look at. This is what we studied over the last few weeks: autocracy, oligarchy, democracy. What components or aspects of these power structures would you think would work well in your society of 50 people? So take a look at those. There's also some examples further back in time, or actually for you ahead. This is a diagram of feudal Europe. So this is under a monarchy or an autocracy where you have one person in charge. And this has played out in various ways throughout the world. So in this example, it shows under a king, they would give land and privileges to their lords and bishops, who would also have a bunch of land to have other people live on it. And in return for giving land and privileges to subtenants or knights and lesser clergy, they would offer to fight and pray for the monarch. Right? And below the subtenants were the peasants, and they were bound to those lords for life. They worked the land. They were the lowest rung, and they paid taxes in the form of crops to the knights and lesser clergy and to the lords and bishops, who would then equip knights and serve for the term of the monarchy's arm. So they would pledge their loyalty and they would oversee others. So this is one example. All right. Here's another couple more examples. Here's a modern French government. It's a democratic socialism. So you can see they have, like we have in the United States, an executive and a legislative branch, right? But they also have other components, like at the European Union. They have councils. They have a just judicial system, just like the United States. So this is a pretty complex system that you probably don't need something quite like this for a group of 50, but it's a model. Here is on the right, the American class structure, and it talks about the different classes in the United States and some of the professions. So you want to think, do you want to have different classes in your society? All right. And two more power structures. Here is the caste system that we studied at the beginning of the year for Hinduism, right? Again, it's a pyramid shape with the most people on the bottom and the people that have the most power, the fewest, at the top. And here is the mandate of heaven, which we talked a little bit about for the Chinese dynasties. So you can look at those and see if there's any aspects you would like to have in your society. So after you've designed your power structure and how you want it to work, right? Who's in charge, how decisions are made, how power and authorities is seen across your society. The last step is to create a set of rules, right? All societies need rules to make sure everyone understands what are the norms, what's acceptable, what do we need to do to keep each other safe and have stability. That's really what's important in a society, right? To thrive is to have stability. So your laws need to be created to uphold both the needs in your step one with your list, right, of what needs to happen daily, and to support your power structure. So what are some of your rules and norms? And we have a couple models for these in the slides. Also, we have, here's the Code of Hammurabi that we studied, right? And you can look at those. Here's a classroom community norms, right? What do we owe ourselves? What do we owe each other? What do we expect of ourselves? And what do we expect of each other? Because your society is going to be closer in size to a classroom. It's almost like 2 classrooms than to a huge civilization, right? And here's an example from the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, right? Here's the first rule, freedom of expression and religion. Article 2, the Amendment 2, bearing arms. So here you could make something that is like a Bill of Rights. It's really up to you. Okay, the last thing you're going to do is, after you've created your laws or your social norms, is to identify, kind of think through, how are you going to uphold these or maintain the social norms and laws? What if someone breaks these laws? What if someone is harmful to another person in your society? How are you going to punish someone for doing that? Are you going to have incentives for people following the rules? What are you going to do? Okay, so take a little time to think about that. And you can look at these codes to help you. Although I don't know, they don't really go into incentives, but they do. The Code of Hammurabi goes into punishments, right? And if you finish all of that, and these should be really great for discussion online, and if you come to office hours with your partner. If you have extra time and you would like to think about this a little more, you can look at this and think about decision making in a little more deep of a way. Like, how are major decisions, like during a crisis, how will those be made? So this is a little bit more deeply than what we're going over in our activity this week. So again, if you have any questions, send me a message, come to office hour. So I'm really excited to hear your ideas. Take care.